Hour number 3. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Great Tony Gonzalez in 5 minutes. Rachel Bonetta, who has also been great today, is filling in for Christine Leahy, who has been sick for some time. And girl needs to take a day off. And Rachel, who got her first broadcasting job in Toronto, and then moved to New York, and then Fox smartly moved in.
Snuck in there.
So he's talented. Let's get her out here to L.A.
Yeah, I'm a long way from home.
And it's great to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tony Gonzalez here in a few minutes. So how about this story? Steve Spagnuolo, defensive guy, is alleging the Patriots, oh, God, this is such a cliche, cheated when they beat Philly. Yes, that's what he's saying today. Remember that 13 years ago when they beat Philadelphia? So Steve Spagnuolo today is, it just cracks me up about this. It totally cracks me up about this. That appears to be the next big thing. I'm reading a story this morning. A story this morning. This is from Grant Cohn. Is that a San Francisco guy, John Goulet? He says Bill Belichick's destructive impact is eroding the NFL's popularity. I got to read this to you. He said, when Pete Rozelle became commissioner, Major League Baseball was the most popular sport. Rozelle's vision was to grow the NFL by humanizing football coaches and players, many of them anonymous backups hidden behind face masks. Rozelle had a background in PR. He was a student publicist at the University of San Francisco's athletic department. Under Pete Rozelle, the NFL became king because his vision for the league was welcoming and generous. And, that's just a bunch of absolute crap. What happened is baseball didn't evolve. Baseball is slower. Football's better on TV. And you bet football. The reason the NFL is king has nothing to do with Bill Belichick. And it's not growing because of Belichick. It's not dying because of Bill Belichick. This is a San Francisco writer who loves Bill Walsh saying the fact that Belichick that won't give any PR, won't give any interviews, will close practices. Grant Cohn says that's why the NFL's popularity is eroding. Utter crap. The NFL, back in the 70s, according to the Harris poll, this is a fact, it's not opinion, look it up, had surpassed baseball in popularity. But because baseball is so connected to the newspaper industry, that back in 1970, you didn't have sports talk radio. You barely had ESPN. You didn't have cable sports. Newspapers dominated sports, and newspapers needed box scores in baseball. You went to a newspaper to get a box score. Baseball was good for newspapers. Newspapers were good for baseball, so they had this relationship and synergy. But in the 70s, Howard Cosell brought this up once in a Playboy magazine. People freaked out, and he was right. In the interview, he said, football, I walk around the country. Football is more popular than baseball, and it has been since the 70s. So this idea that Belichick's hurting the number, football was more popular than baseball in the mid-70s, according to Harris Poll Research, which does sports and politics, and it's way ahead. And it gained in popularity because it was better on TV. We gamble on it, and that's a huge component to football's popularity. Even though the NFL doesn't want to say it, we don't gamble on baseball. We gamble on football. It's better on TV. And as the world has become immersed in technology, it has sped up all of our clocks. Rachel, are you as patient today as you were 10 years ago? We're all impatient.
I was a young child 10 years ago.
The point is, even I'm not a guy that lives on my phone. But when you start getting things every day, whenever you want them on this little device, you get used to it. You get very impatient. Mm-hmm. And football is quicker. We can bet on it. It evolves. It's adapt. And the reason the ratings have gone down, now you can argue about that. It has nothing to do with Belichick closing practices and Belichick not being a PR guy. Nobody was watching football because of Jerry Glanville because he was funny or Sam Weish. We were watching the Steelers. Chuck Noll never talked. Go look at the great coaches of our life. Was Marv Levy funny? What was Tom Coughlin funny? Bill Walsh wasn't exactly a stand-up comedian. NBC put him on the air. He wasn't very good. The great football coaches have never been gregarious. Was Woody Hayes? Is Nick Saban? Is Belichick? Was Bo Schembechler? No, that's a bunch of garbage. The NFL is the king. It has waned about 10% in recent years, not from a commerce standpoint. It's making more money than it's ever made. Okay, but it's waned in recent years for a variety of reasons, one of which I think there's more of it. There's just more football. There's Thursday night, there's Saturday, there's Sunday early, there's Sunday at 4, there's Sunday night, there's Monday. Hell, they're putting games on now at London. You wake up on the West Coast, you've missed the first half of a London game. So you're spreading it out. It doesn't feel quite as urgent, like you have to get up and watch this day. And I also think some of the social activism turned off some older generation football fans. We have research here at Fox is that people don't want their politics with their football. I mean, the Grammys the other night got a terrible rating. Why? Because Hollywood thinks everybody gives a rip about their political stances, and people don't. You watch the Grammys to watch musical performers. You don't give a rip about some, actor, actress, drummer. You don't care about their politics. It's the reason ESPN's in trouble last couple of years, hemorrhaging viewers. All their hosts now suddenly think we care how they vote. We don't. We care about sports. Talk about it. So this article is a bunch of junk. And I don't know who Grant Cohn is, but Belichick's destructive impact, eroding popularity, zero impact on that. In fact, I would argue Belichick's made football smarter. And I like smart football. And I think, by the way, I've watched every New England snap for 15 years. I think what Belichick has created, football used to be kind of like, knuckle dragging, dumb guys, hit him in the mouth, throw the bomber-rooski. That's not football anymore. Football is advanced and smart and technical and situational, and if you're not good, you get fired. Belichick is in no way a negative for the NFL. He is duplicated and copied, and just because he's smarter than your coach, deal with it. That's on you. That's not on Belichick. But, God, the argument here is the league's eroding because, Pete Rozelle made it so popular because, let me ask you this. Do players still wear face masks? Yes. Can you see during a game players' faces outside of the quarterback? No. The same disadvantages football's always had to the NBA, which is you're far away from the players, unlike the NBA where you're by the players, and you can see the NBA guys. The NFL guys are big guys, masks. You can barely see their faces even on TV. The same stuff applies. This idea, this is dumb. All right, that got me all worked up. I mean, seriously, that got me ridiculously worked up. See, Rachel, sometimes I just go into the weeds and off the rails, and I get very fired up.
I think you need to cool it and have another mint, and then we'll be good here.
All right, where's Gonzalez? All right, let me read a spot here so I can calm down. God, I'm so worked up. Car shopping's confusing. Dealer price, list price, invoice. All I know, true car, new or used. You can save $3,000 off MSRP. It is a more confident car buying experience. So, yeah, some of these writers. All right, Tony, get over here. 14-time All-Pro.
What's wrong?
I'm all fired up today.
Hello.
Some writer here says the NFL's not popular. It's eroding this year because Belichick is so anti-press, and he's covert, and he doesn't know practices, and people are turned off, and it's dour, and I argue there's a lot of reasons the NFL could be down, and you and I could argue about those. There's some people that don't like their politics with their sports. I think there's definitely some older Americans.
True, I agree.
And I do think the NFL's now on every channel all day. There's a little dilution of the product, if that's a word. You can get it now. It doesn't feel quite as special. It used to be Sunday. And then Monday night, now's it. Now it's Thursday and Saturday. And so anyway, I mean, in your social circle, now that you're out of football, did you have a sense when you were playing how popular it was? And now that you're a broadcaster, how do you view football in and out of the game?
Well, when I came in '97, it's always been popular. I was a big fan when I was a kid, but it has exploded throughout my career, and really with the advent of social media, that's where it took off. And then the what's the game that everybody plays? The fantasy football.
John Madden.
No, fantasy football.
Oh, fantasy football.
Fantasy football.
So
that exploded everything. From females were starting to come up to me going, I had you on my fantasy football team.
Oh,
I
you
had on my
noticed it?
Easily. When you're walking out in the streets, like a lot of people are coming up saying, I play fantasy football, I need points. But not just men anymore. Now it was females coming up and saying.
And you noticed
thanks.
that 8 years ago, 7 years ago?
Whenever it came out, it just
You were in
exploded.
Atlanta.
I was in Atlanta when it first. I just remember.
You know, it's not that fantasy football. You know, John, I may be wrong on this. Fantasy baseball was bigger before fantasy football, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was created first.
You know, did I ever tell you my fantasy baseball story? You want to hear? Do you know who Bruce Bochy is?
Nope.
Manager of the San Francisco Giants. He's got that mustache, big head. I was on a plane. This is a weird story. I was on a plane in the late 80s. And I was a member of the San Diego Padres AAA baseball broadcast team. Bruce Bochy was the manager. He's now the manager of the Giants, got 3 World Series. Goulet, you know him, great guy. And he was sitting next to Sean Abner, who was the #1 pick of the Mets, got traded to the Padres. And I'm right behind him. And they're talking about this baseball thing. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Teams. And he goes, it's called rotisserie baseball. Mm-hmm. And Bochy's like, I'm in this league out east. And there's like 30 guys in the whole. And then all of a sudden, about 3 years later, I hear about it. Now it's fantasy football, and I just wasted everybody's time on that story. But fantasy football, I felt it got big about 7, 8 years ago. And you noticed it. Anecdotally, you noticed it on the street.
Absolutely.
When you, it's funny in this game. You have New England's been there before, and Philadelphia has not. You know, Belichick said a couple of weeks ago, you know, this experience thing is a bunch of hooey. All right, let's just go to your first playoff game. Did it feel different?
My first playoff game, that was back my rookie year. Yeah, it feels way different. It feels way different because the stakes go up. The pressure goes up. People get tighter. I remember we were 13-3 back in '97. Derek Thomas, Marcus Allen, Andre Rison. We had a really good team.
Willie
going.
Rofe?
This is before that, before Willie became a Chief. And I remember they had a big team meeting, players only. The week we went to the playoffs.
Ooh.
And they said, guys, we gotta put down the bottle. We gotta stop going out. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. We got a Super Bowl caliber team. And remember, I'm just 21 years old. And I'm looking around like, wow, this is playoff football. I mean, everybody's game went to a higher level, focus level, and we ended up losing. Some people think we lost because of that. Guys on the team were like, hey, why did we change what we were doing? You know,
were you nervous?
That's part of the maturity thing. Yeah, you're nervous. You get tight, but that's also when the game has to slow. The great ones, that's where the opportunity comes. You don't become great or legendary without a pressure cooker situation. You got to have that pressure, that heat, in order to go out there and become great. That's when you become legendary. That's when you get that opportunity.
When you you know, I saw something yesterday on Pro Football Focus where 14 of the top 20 players were Philadelphia Eagles. And I just laugh. I'm like, oh, God, this feels like the Seattle Super Bowl when everybody's like, oh, Seattle's got way better players than New England does. And then you're watching the end of that game, and Seattle's defense is shot, and they're tired, and they can't stop Brady. In your mind, can you see how this game transpires? Like, if I said, Tony, what do you think's going to happen? Do you have a sense of what's going to happen with Philadelphia, New England?
Well, yeah. I mean, as I play it over in my head, I think it's going to go as the way the script goes with New England all the time when they play against good football teams. It's going to be close. Tom's probably going to have a nice drive at the end of the game, maybe to win it. I just think with Bill Belichick, he's so good at adjusting. So no matter what the score is at halftime, it doesn't matter. You saw that last year in the playoffs against Atlanta. It doesn't matter because he's going to come out with a game plan that's going to stop everything that was even close to working in that first half for Philly. And then Tom, he's going to make the adjustment and the offensive coaches to make whatever was getting stopped before, that they are going to go out there and they'll start moving the ball up and down the field, a la Jacksonville. They're going to make that adjustment, and it's just a matter. It's not if, it's just a matter of when. That is why they win majority of their football games, especially at this time of year. These guys are. I just don't see New England losing. But anything can happen. But New England's going to win at the end of the game.
By the way, Steve Spagnuolo says New England was stealing our signs back in that Super Bowl in whatever year it was. What do you make of that?
Okay, Steve. Every old team, that's what you do. I don't care what anybody. I'm not saying if you have people that are looking at signals, you're trying to gain an advantage. Every team does it. I don't care what anybody says. That's part of the game. That's why guys cover their mouth. Coaches cover their mouth because they want to make sure nobody's lip reading and stuff like that.
Up in the booth. Because the game's on television and coordinators are up there. A defensive coordinator is watching the play caller.
I'm watching. As a player, I'm watching. I'm on the sideline. I'm looking at their calls. Okay, I'm trying to see okay, when I'm when the defense is out on the field, and as a player, offensive player, I'm watching to maybe help the defense and be like, okay, here comes the hitch. Peyton Manning, he tugged on his whatever his pants. That means hitch.
What does that mean?
Here it comes, and hitch is a 5-yard stop for it. Okay, and then Peyton,
so you would tell
I would tell the DB, I'd be like, here comes the hitch, because I'm looking at Peyton Manning's signals telling him that, okay, I know that's the universal hitch.
Tony, there's no huddles in football anymore. So there's these nonverbal cues for 3.5 hours.
Yes.
So if you're an offensive player, like I laugh at Spags saying, well, they knew our plays were coming. And I say, they knew your plays were coming because Tom Brady sits and watches film looking for tells. In fact, I want you to watch this video, Tom versus Time. Tom is addicted to video. Here it is.
When you've been doing something so long, you just don't see, you see the depth of everything. How do you know when the guy's going to blitz? You kind of look at the shape of the defense. A guy just may have a little tell, like a poker player. It's like, oh, how do you know? Well, I don't know, you've been doing it for so long, you've seen so much. I watch tape all day Monday, all day Tuesday. Wednesday we practice, Thursday we practice, Friday we practice, and I come home and I watch film. And Saturday before the game I watch film. And then Sunday morning I watch film. And the whole time I'm just trying to get tells. I don't know why I can sit here and watch it and, process information quickly, but I can. I mean, I could literally, just watch film all day. It's almost like soothing, because I've been doing it for so long. I can just go 4 or 5 hours without getting up from this chair.
I love that.
What are you kidding me? No,
Did you watch film like that?
No, no, I don't have to. The quarterback has to do that. When Tom says, I don't know why I do this, I know why. Because he's obsessed. He is absolutely obsessed, like Michael Jordan, like Tiger Woods, like Jerry Rice, like I was at times, of just competing and seeing how far he can take it. You see that little crazy look in his eye.
Yes.
He's got that glimmer of like he's half
Tony,
nuts.
did you, I'm going to go deep here. I'm going to go Psych 101. Did you compete out of fear? Vin Scully, a great broadcaster, once said, he goes, I prepare like I do because I don't want to be a horse's blank on the air. I'm afraid of just a moment happening, and I don't have information. And Jerry Tarkanian once told me, I don't remember the wins. I can't sleep with the losses. And Tark lost about 2 games a year. Tark's like, I'll lose sleep over losses. He goes, I can remember every loss.
Yeah.
You name the game, the season, I'll tell you the loss. I can't remember any wins. Were you obsessed, Tony, because maybe of an insecurity that you were shown up as a kid, you were bullied, you had a bad game, you dropped a pass, you were humiliated? What is it that drives great people?
I think, for me, my second year in the league, led the league in drop passes. You know the story.
Yeah.
And the embarrassment that I felt. And I was so afraid. And I told myself, I'll never hear that. I'll never get booed by anybody ever again.
So you got booed in Kansas City?
I got booed. Oh, yeah. When I would drop a pass, they were like, oh, here we go again. Boo, whatever. So but that's the best thing that ever happened to you. And usually that's what greatness comes from. Guys get drafted in the 6th round, like Tom Brady.
And they're humiliated.
We're humiliated. You hear about Jordan getting cut from his high school, his junior year or whatever, from the team. Like, you have humiliation and hard times is what helps you grow. I think that's where the opportunity to grow, the most growth is possible. So for me, that's what happened. But I always thought it was fear. When I retired, I could have kept back and playing. I'm like, what if I come back and I don't have it? I would hate it if Colin Cowherd's on air talking about Tony's slow now because Father Time has caught up.
Look at that doughy tight end who can't catch.
He's done. And I knew it. So that's part of the preparation. But I think that's what makes people great. I think I don't know if it's fear, but for me, I realized it was also I know I can do it. That's where it came from. It wasn't about I was afraid of losing or afraid of not being the best tight end in the league. I was just like, I know I can do it. And so I will turn over you can't tell me. from an arrogant standpoint, like you can't tell me I can't be the best tight end in the league. And that's how Tom feels.
What's it like to get booed?
Oh, you never been booed before, Colin?
No, not by 68,000 people. What's it like to get booed?
It is, to me, one of the most humiliating, crushing things. I took it home with me. I was crying about it at home in my office. I remember sitting up in my office crying about it. Because I was so embarrassed. I've never had that in my life. And that's me. And a lot of players don't feel that, though. They can get booed. They can get benched. They'll be like, oh, I'll be okay. It's like, but for me, and I think guys in that top 2% of the league, they can't take that. I can't take that. And I will bust my butt to make sure that never happens again. I will stay late. I will go.
So you're running through the tunnel at the end of a game, and they're saying stuff.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting at dinner in Kansas City one time.
Oh, God.
And I was sitting with Kevin Lockett, my room, good buddy back then. And he's like, oh, my God. The next table is talking about me. They don't know I'm sitting there saying how much of a bust I am.
Oh, my God.
And that it would have another wasted pick by Carl Peterson. And when I heard stuff like that, that's what I'm saying. That forced me. I'm glad it happened. It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's a sad story. Oh. I almost feel pity for you. It's so sad.
I'm sure you got some sad stories. Look at you
no.
now.
Listen, my first 14 years in this business were
14 years.
It was a long. My suckage rate was very high. I was very poor.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I've only gotten good reviews. So
far,
You've never been booed. Good for you.
You got to get booed. You'll never be great if you don't get booed. How about that?
That's right, Rachel.
That's the lesson of the day.
Tony Gonzalez, good seeing you, bud.
Thank you.
You love your car. Alex Smith, about 20 minutes away. Do you love your car? Most people do. You drive around on the freeway, though, your roads, you look around. Most people don't have a new car. They got a used car. 3, 4, 5 years, that warranty ends. You don't want to get burned. You want extended vehicle service protection because it's affordable, number one. And number two is stuff breaks. GPS, electronics, sensors, fuel pump, water pump. Stuff's expensive. I don't know the price of everything in a car, but I know this. The fuel pump costs you over $500 potentially. And a water pump could be over $1,000. Go to carshield.com, code HERD. A deductible may apply. Or you can call 800-CAR-6100. That's 800-CAR-6100 and mention the code HERD. All right? 24/7 roadside assistance. A rental car while yours is in the shop. It's the ultimate in extended coverage. Is they put and get your favorite mechanic or dealership paid directly, no check in the mail stuff. Carshield.com, code HERD.
It's a frozen world, but right now it's thawing out. If you don't produce, you die.
Life below zero, the thaw. New